yeah, so here's our agenda for the night. Oh, by the way, if you didn't come to the first meeting, I'm Krager, president. This is Akshay, part of our leadership, and another leadership member, we have Violet. She's pretty cool also. But our agenda for the night, we're gonna go over preparing for a hackathon. So how many people have been to a hackathon before? Great, that is like around less than half. So this presentation will be good. It's an intro to hackathons, what you need to do to prepare if you're serious, or how to have the most fun, pretty much. And then we have James who's going to come up and talk about 5C hacks, which is our hackathon at Pomona. He's going to give more info about leading up to that. And then I'm going to give a presentation on Model View Controller, which is a software architect pattern. And then we're going to have people who applied for projects and got accepted come up. They're looking for developers. They're looking for Sorry, it's my friend. They're looking for resources, looking for developers. And yeah, so they're just going to give a quick pitch on their projects. And then we have a representative from ServiceNow, which is a startup nearby, coming and just talking about opportunities, what their company does. A good insight into the startup life, pretty much. So without further ado, Akshay is going to take it away.
Yeet, for sure. So what is a hackathon? So hackathon is basically either a 12-hour, 24-hour, 36-hour kind of long project thing that you do with like a team of people. Come in.
36 hours.
What's up? Yeah, they're usually hosted at college campuses, like UCSD. Krager went to one 2 weeks ago. 5C Hackathon is a thing. Hacks is a thing. You compete with other people, but it's not just for competing. It's also for learning and building cool things and just getting together with your friends and just like doing cool shit. There are also prizes, and I think it's a really cool experience overall. So why should you go? Well, like I just said, you get to learn a new technology like, let's say, iOS or web, or just in general, just learn how to build something cool. There are prizes. It's also a really good opportunity for networking. So if you do end up going to a hackathon, I would definitely recommend printing a copy of your resume because there are recruiters around. You might just end up with a summer internship, who knows? There are also free cloud credits. So let's say you want to build an app that uses a backend, like Google and Amazon have like up to $100 worth of cloud credits that you can use their services for. So that's really dope. There's also a lot of free food because you're out pretty much all night. And then I wouldn't recommend doing this just for that, but it also does look good on a resume. Yeah, so just like the NFL is a thing, Major League hacking is also a thing. So I think we're in season right now. It begins in fall and ends around in spring. And Major League hacking is basically most of the big name universities like University of Michigan. I think Stanford is part of it. I think UCSD is also part of MLH. Like really big school hosts, like they host really, really big ass hackathons.
Like 1,500 people big.
Yeah. So yeah, for sure. So you can check on their website for when the next hackathon is. And the good thing about California is that there are so many tech schools here, so there are a lot of hackathons that you can go to. And the second best resource is of course us, because we really like hackathons. We like going to them. So definitely hit us up. Yeah, so planning for a hackathon. So I would recommend coming up with an idea before showing up because it's just better that way. You kind of have more clarity in mind into like what you're doing. But if you don't know what you're doing, you can still like go and like learn new technology and have fun. Not everything is about winning. Yeah, there's a lot of room for learning. Yeah, so you can also go with a team, like with a team of friends. I would personally recommend that because you can like Uber together, like Uber back together. You know the people, you're gonna stay up all night with them. It's kind of nice, like having your buddies around. But if you don't have any buddies available for a weekend, you can also just show up to the hackathon and they have a lot of people just like you who they'll place you into teams with. So that's not an issue either. Yeah, so one thing, definitely don't do something crazy hard. Know your limits, explore the feasibility of your idea. Yeah, that's why I think definitely planning is key, definitely do that. And don't try to code your solution beforehand because that is cheating, like unethical kind of. Yeah, and plus it kind of takes away from the fun of the hackathon in the first place. So yeah, there are prizes as we mentioned. That's Krager. He actually came second in UCSD Hacks 2 weeks ago. And he came out with a PS4, which with a bunch of other stuff too. And that was super dope. There are two types of prizes. There are corporate prizes and hackathon prizes. So hackathon prizes are prizes that the hackathon organizers themselves have, like PS4s or like mostly I feel like hardware devices. Corporate prizes are more like the Google Cloud credits that I mentioned, the Amazon Cloud credits that I mentioned. And they're also incentivized based off if you use a company's API. Let's say you use IBM Watson's natural language processing stuff. They'll be like, oh cool, you did this. Here's more resources to keep doing that, because they want to encourage you using their product, because like in the end they do make money off that too.
Nah, it's for the fun of it.
Yeah, so if you are really dead set on winning, here are 2 things you might want to consider. Do you want to talk about your app thing?
Yeah,
real
for
quick?
sure. So at the last hackathon I went to, we made, is everyone familiar with ARKit? Does anyone not know what ARKit is? Alright, ARKit pretty much, have you played Pokemon Go? You know how Pikachu can go on the table? ARKit is what like keeps Pikachu on the table, pretty much. So we used ARKit to put markers wherever there were anything we needed. So pretty much like a staircase, an elevator, a water fountain, just different utilities people would need. And ARKit just tracked those. So you could be like, oh, I need a water fountain. It would give you like step-by-step directions in a building to the water fountain. So
It's like Krager's app was useful, and like it was particularly useful for people with disabilities because they could see like, oh, there's a ramp up there, or like there's an elevator. Yeah.
Is that like crowdsourced, or how did that work?
So for the demo, we actually just like, it was part of the app that like building planners can just walk around and be like, water fountain here, and keep going. So it was manually put in, but the idea is like, you give it to event organizers and they fill it in. Yeah.
Yeah. So do that, and then use a lot of APIs, as we mentioned. If you have a 10% chance of winning on any given API, if you use 10, you have a 100% chance of winning, but don't quote me on the math. Yeah, I think that it's increases your chances quite a lot. And then, so just to sum up, I would come up with an idea, plan the feasibility, come up with a group of friends or group of people that are super down to build it with you. And then explore the feasibility, and then practice your relevant skills, like look up what the libraries you might need to use are, what the specific functions, or like if there's anything complex, use Stack Overflow. The internet has a lot of information for that. And yeah, I think the main objective is you go have fun, because hackathons are a lot of fun.
Yeah, so now we're gonna have James come up and talk about the 5C hackathon. Got a few slides on that.
Thank you, Akshay. That was a great introduction in general. Hi, so I'm James. I'm a junior at Pomona, helping to organize this year's hackathon. It's a lot of fun. It's perfect if you haven't gone to a hackathon before. I saw that there were some of you who haven't been to one before. This is a great jumping off point. It's really accessible to beginners. There's also different tiers for advanced members as well. So there's something for everybody. It's going to be November 2nd, which is this upcoming Friday. Starts at 6:30. Next slide, please. So here's some logistics. It's going to be Edmonds Ballroom, which is Pomona's campus. It's in the Smith Campus Center, if anyone knows where that is. So you'll be able to register starting at 6:30. It ends the next day. There are 3 different levels. So if you, I think generally we recommend beginner if you've never taken a CS class before, or if you're taking like CS5 at MUD or CS51 at Pomona. Intermediate's like you've kind of been around, you've taken some other CS coursework, maybe you've been to a hackathon before. Advanced is like, I would probably do advanced because I'm a junior CS major, so I wouldn't want to compete with like beginners. It's just kind of a fairness thing. It's not like a super strict thing or anything like that. And this year we're going to do something new. We're going to have a 6-hour variant of the challenge. If you don't want to stay up all night, like for me personally, that's kind of hard on my body. I don't like to do that, so I may just opt for the 6-hour challenge. If you want to do the all-nighter, you can do the 12-hour challenge as well. And we're going to have, I think, 12 total prizes, or no, 9 total prizes. So we're going to have 1 prize for every pairing of levels and challenges. So yeah, and free food. So it's good. Last year we had Chipotle. I don't know what we'll have this year. Next slide, please. So before this, this Saturday, I have yet to put this up on Facebook because we're still trying to figure out some of the details. We're going to have a meet and greet, and Ben's going to do that. I don't know if you want to say anything about it. Basically, you form teams, meet other participants, explore ideas, snacks. I don't know if you want to add to any of that.
I guess it's just for people that either if you haven't done a hackathon before and you want to meet people, you can kind of establish that team beforehand. Or if done a little bit and you're still just looking for somebody who can just talk with people that have similar interests and just meet other people that might do something you want to do. So that's the purpose.
Yeah, so it's great if you're new and you don't really have a team yet, you can go find some people who are kind of in your position. And then we're going to have a design thinking workshop right after that with a short break, of course. And we're going to go over human-centered design, basic problem-solving principles, because I know personally I struggle a lot with, like, you know, where do you even begin? So you have maybe a couple ideas. You don't even know, like, how to put the pen to paper, so to speak. So we're going to go over some prototyping tools, like prototyping on paper, and kind of how to get started. We're also going to give some prompts in partnership with Tech for Good. Local nonprofits have reached out to us for like specific needs that they'd like to have people work on during the hackathon. So if you're interested in that, you're welcome to work on that. And as you mentioned before, those are always good to do, social justice. And then we're going to go over some case studies about misapplications of design thinking. I don't know if any of you went to the Jeff Larson talk earlier today, but that's kind of like what we're going to go over, as well as like the potential for misapplications of algorithms and how it can hurt people to come up with an algorithm that discriminates. So yeah, you want to think about like who you're designing a product for, not just the company. Next slide, please. So Hack Week, we have a whole slew of different workshops. Most of them are geared towards complete beginners, so no prereqs. The only exception, I think, is simple website and some basic web dev skills for that. So game dev, we're going to do like a basic like 2D kind of platformer thing, I think. Data science, how to manipulate data, how to use it for an app. iOS app, we're actually going to help out with that one. I'm going to help out with the Android app workshop. Berto's going to be leading it over there. And the simple website, I'm not totally sure who's doing that. I think we might need some help with that one, as well as if anyone has relevant skills and they'd like to help out. Yeah, so every evening from 8:30 to 10 this upcoming week. Yeah. So yeah, if anyone wants to help out with anything, I know a lot of you have great skills. If you'd like to apply them to some of the workshops, help some new people learn some skills, or if you'd like to be on site and like walk around and answer people's questions during the hackathon, please contact me or Wentao. And then there's some links to the websites. I don't think they're super updated yet, but there will be all the information on those websites. So yeah, any questions?
I have a question. So the activities, like the upcoming activities for next month, let's say next month, November, is there going to be like something like a reminder going on here, like a mail telling people, hey, today we have this going on or something there?
Yeah, we should get everything up on Facebook. I think we were just looking for like 2 more people. I think we're good to go now, so we should put everything up on Facebook. Yeah, so there will be reminders, like Facebook events. Yeah.
What's like an average size for like a hackathon team?
I think it's like 3 to 4 people typically. Last year, they didn't want 5 or more people. Like the 5th person wouldn't get a prize. So like that's kind of an issue, and you might want to kind of work around that. It's kind of unfortunate. Yeah, so like 4 people max. Anyone else? All right, thank you.
Yeah, so thanks for that, James. Next up, I'm going to give a presentation on model view controllers. So this is kind of an intro to software architecture. This is our technical bit of the meeting, I guess, if you want to. But pretty much we're going to be talking about model view controller, which is just pretty much a pattern to follow when you're writing your software, and it helps with readability, organization, lots of things like that. So you're probably saying, architecture, isn't this software? And the answer is yes, it is software. And pretty much software architecture is the idea of maintaining the high-level structure of your application. So everyone can kind of like Google chug their way through solving certain problems, but just kind of staying organized while doing that is extremely important. And that's kind of the whole idea behind software architecture. And yeah, you can read this Wikipedia quote. I thought it was pretty good. But yeah. So why architecture? So organization is huge. When you're making your apps, you're going to be working with lots of different people, lots of different developers, and if everyone kind of has the big picture of the organization of the code, then they know where to put things, they know where to find things, and it just makes it better for everyone, pretty much. Whoa. Someone want to get that? I don't know why that's locked. But anyways, so readability is also important. So having readable code, if everyone knows what's in the model, what's in the view, what's in the controller, then it's extremely readable and kind of you have an idea of what's going on before you even start reading the code. And then expansion. If your code's organized, you can build on it, add new features very quickly. So that's our motivation for this pretty much. So just a point I want to make pretty obvious. Just because your code works doesn't mean it's good code. So both these pieces of code will add 20 to X, but as you can see on the top one, we're running a for loop 20 times and just iterating by one each time. And then we have good code, which is using our built-in operators. So, yeah. So the point I'm trying to make here is just because your code works doesn't mean it's done. A lot of people, when they're kind of chugging through an app, they hit run, they look at it, they're like, oh, it works, next feature. And you can't really do that. You need to kind of sit back and think, is this good in the long run? So that's kind of the point of this slide, but it's a funny example. Great. But model view controller, what is it? So it's a pattern used in making user interfaces. So front-end development, whether it be an iOS app, Android has some variants of this where they call it, what do they call it? I have to Google it because I don't do Android. They call it activity instead of controller. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they have a variant of model view controller they use. And then web and backend suites also use this. So what a web and backend suite is pretty much if you have your server also managing your website at the same time. So your hip front-end frameworks like Vue.js or React.js don't use this. This is the alternative to that. But all these frameworks do use MVC as a very prevalent part. And sounds lit. What is it? So there's 3 parts of it. Can you guess what they are? That's right. It's model view controllers. So pretty much this diagram is going to stay on the slides the rest of the time. I recommend it. We'll just go through it. So pretty much we'll start at the view. The view is the actual visual aspects of what's being seen on the screen. So the user sees the view, and then they tap on the screen, they tap on a button, they tap on something. And the controller pretty much takes that input and runs some code. It reacts to what we're doing on the app. And the controller can access the model, and the model is like the actual data. So if we have an app where we're selling candy, then the candy available would be in the model. The controller can say like, okay, the user is buying a Twix bar or something like that. And yeah, so the controller manipulates the model, and then the view is going to have to reflect those changes in the model. So some data changes, we want to update the actual front end, what the user sees. It says, hey, you just bought a Twix bar, pretty much like that. And that cycle just keeps going on and on and on. So weird language, I already started using it. I tried not to, but I did. When we say the model, we mean all the model objects. There's going to be lots of different model objects, such as like candy or a transaction or Buffalo and Farmville or something like that. But pretty much, when we say the model, we mean all the classes inside the model. And we could also still say a model object, which is just like a singular class there. And the same goes for view. And that's just kind of like a standard when people talk to each other about MVC. But no one says the controller. That's not okay. I don't know why. It isn't. But yeah, so let's go through each one of these in detail now and just pretty much talk about the architecture, what each thing highlights and includes. So the model manages the application's data. Like I mentioned before, it's that candy object, and we have a candy class and it stores, I guess, how much the candy would cost, stuff like that, details about the candy. So in our APCS class, or at least in mine, we had to make like a cow class, and like the cow could have 3 legs or 4 legs. We had like properties inside the cow class. That's what the model is those actual like real world objects put in the code and how we're going to represent them in our app. And yeah, so we're pretty much modeling our items, objects, and ideas within our code. And then it also includes logic of the data. You can pretty much ignore that, it's like a smaller detail, but I had to put it on there. So if we look at an example, this is Instagram. Please hit me with a follow. My past account got hacked. I'm trying to rise from the ashes right now. But yeah, so the model on Instagram, there's lots of different model objects, but we're going to focus on the post because I think it's the most like tangible thing we can think of. So if we have a class that represents a post, we might want to include how many likes does that post have, the caption on the post, the actual image data itself, and then the comments. And that class just represents a post. So we're going to have lots of different post instances in our project. Does that make sense to everyone? Just want to make sure. Is anyone unsure about that? Wow, that's great. I'm doing good. All right, so our project would include this post class. We could also have like a user class. That would be another example of a model object, but that's the point. So yeah, moving on to the view. So the view is the actual visuals of our application, whether that be the animations, the color, the size. That's all pretty much stored in the view. And we like to design our view components to be reusable. So they shouldn't rely on the model. The view and model should not be intertwined with each other. So for example, if I have an app and I want to switch in the app that just goes like on or off for something, I should write that view class in such a way that it doesn't depend on the controller or the model. I could insert that view class into another project and it would still work fine. So we want reusable components is the idea there. And most frameworks include built-in views. So for iOS development, we have switch view, a button view, table view. There's lots of different views that are built in, and we can just kind of plug and play with those. But you can also write your own if you want to. And so example of view. Back to Instagram. Please hit me with that follow. But each individual component is a view. So if we look more closely, we can see some reusable views like I was mentioning. So if I put this red circle on the screen, you now realize that 309 in followers, it looks the same as the post and the following counter next to it. So that view was probably reused. Instagram probably wrote that view, and they're just using it 3 times. So that's kind of the idea of reusability. And then another one is these squares that pretty much have your post in them. So the square is being reused, but the controller is connecting it to the model each time. So the controller says, give me a square view, and then it says, put this picture in it, and it's reusing that over and over again. And last but not least, controllers. It's not the controller, don't say that. But so controllers, their main function, if I had to say, is it connects the model to the view. And what that means is we have our reusable view components, but we need to inject data into them. We need to make them show what we want to show pretty much. And controllers also, like I mentioned before, handles user interaction. So if you tap a button, it's going to trigger some code in your controller. If you scroll, it'll trigger some code. Pretty much any interaction is handled in the controller. And then controllers also update the view when necessary. So if someone were to follow me, which I really hope someone does, it would update this 309 to a 310. And if I got 1,000 followers, yeah, see where this is going. But yeah, so we look at an example of a controller. I can't really like show you a controller because it's just a class in code, but we can talk about like what we think this controller is doing behind the scenes. So for those of you that use Instagram, if you tap that button that's circled in red right there, it changes the below to be, instead of like post you posted, to post you're tagged in. So the controller actually manages injecting that model object, those posts instead of these posts, into this bottom table view here. So yeah, any questions on just the basic architecture of that? Yeah, so here's the big picture again. Cool, and it wouldn't be a Krager presentation if we didn't build something. So we're gonna build a shopping list app. And it's not going to look good, and it's not going to be useful, but it's going to use MVC, and that's all I can say. So what is our model going to be in this shopping cart app? This is the interaction part, if someone wants to answer.
Like one particular like item could be like the lettuce or the
I
price
love
of
lettuce
the-
also. But yeah, grocery item. So we would have a grocery item, and what we could put in that like grocery item, which just represents a row, we could put the name of the grocery, the price, and the quantity that we want to buy. And yeah, I just kind of made this real quick. Lettuce was on my mind for some reason. But what's our view? So our actual view is going to be the row. We're going to reuse this row view object over and over again, because we don't want to like make a new view object each time. We just want to use that same one and just change lettuce to ketchup or something like that, and then change the price and the quantity. So we're going to do this in iOS. But the point of the presentation is, or the point of the demo is not to learn iOS development, but rather see how MVC can be employed in an app. So there might be some code that's like, oh, iOS stuff, but just ignore it. Just focus on the MVC stuff. Go there. Any second now. Okay. Cool. So I already started writing some code because I can't write it all up here. But pretty much, can everyone read everything? Cool, awesome. So on the left here we have model, which is all our model objects. So like Berto mentioned, we have our grocery object here. We're going to add the other things, but I just started out with name, and then we have our constructor, which helps us make grocery objects. And then we have view, and we have our table view cell, that's like one row pretty much. And I already went ahead and did the view just because it's more iOS focused and I thought it's irrelevant. But if we look at the storyboard here, I've already designed what was in that picture and constrained it. So we have our name label, which is a view. We have our name label, our price label, and then our quantity label. And these are represented by these three objects here. They're actually connected. That's kind of one of the perks of iOS development, is you can connect things from a visual storyboard into here. But just know that this is the view, we're going to be using it. And we have our controller, which pretty much is the meat of the application. It handles our interactions, it injects the model, and it updates the view. So first things first, if we go back to the grocery model object, we want to add price and quantity into there. So just do price, then I don't know how to spell, but I think that's right. And then we want to add them into our constructor also. And we want to set them accordingly. So if any of you have done Java, this is like something you do in Java a lot. It looks very similar to this. We just want to set our instance variables. So now we have our model object complete, and we can now use it in the controller properly. So if we go back to the controller, we're just going to go top down here and just like kind of understand everything that's going on. So this right here is our representation of the model. So we're actually making an array. This is array syntax in Swift. We're actually making an array of grocery objects, and this is going to represent what's in our shopping list, or what we need to buy pretty much. And this method here is going to prepare our initial shopping list. So as you can see, I've added lettuce, but now that I've changed the model object, I want to add our price. So let's say lettuce costs like, say like 99 cents is a good price. And then we want to add our quantity also. And say we'll buy 10 pieces of lettuce. So this is our initial shopping list. When we open the app, this is already going to be in our shopping list. And yeah, maybe we'll add more later, I don't know. But yeah, so this method right here, now we're handling user interactions. So if you saw in the design, there was an add button in the top right. I believe it's this blue button right here. When we click that, it's going to prompt the user to type in like a new item to add to the shopping list. So when this add button is tapped, this method is ran right here. So as you can see, the controller is handling user interaction here. And we're going to prompt the user to add a grocery. And then this is ran when the user actually saves their new grocery. So the user types in their grocery and then they click save. And that's when this code runs. And pretty much what we need to do here is make a model object and add it to our shopping list. So we're going to do that. So we'll say new grocery. This is this. And we have our constructor from before. And the parameters of this method are exactly what we typed in. I've set this up behind the scenes, but we can just assume that's how it's going to be. So we put our price and our quantity in, like that. And then we need to add it to our shopping list. So we'll just append it on. And then we want to reload the table view, so the table view shows our new grocery item. And the last thing we need to do is connect the model to the view. So pretty much right now, you can add a grocery, it'll add it to the shopping cart, or shopping list, and we can show it on the screen. But we actually need to construct, we pretty much make a new cell, and then we want to pretty much tailor it towards a specific grocery. And this method right here, it's going to return a cell or a row in that table, and it's going to take in a grocery. So we pretty much just need to customize this cell view object to reflect what's in that grocery. So, oops, that's not what I was supposed to do. All right, so cell view, and we need to set the price. I already set the name above here, as you can see. Set that to the price. And then, was it quantity? Yeah. Yeah, we want to set that to the quantity. And then we return this. So somewhere behind the scenes in some iOS code I wrote, it's running this method over and over and filling the table up with these rows. So if everything is kind of good, it should work. I'm going to get this one. Yeah. So if we build the project and run it, we should see one row with lettuce, hopefully. I haven't actually tested this before. Okay, cool. So we have lettuce. If we want to add something else, someone can yell at a grocery.
Lettuce.
I'm going to do turnips.
What?
I don't know why you yell lettuce again. Actually, I respect that. All right, let's say 99 cents. I think that's a good price for turnips. And we're really hungry today, so 1,000. If we add it, it and adds a row to right table. So that's just kind of how model view controller connects everything together. We're constructing view objects, making model objects, and all this happens in the controller. So does anyone have any questions? No. Cool. Looks good. So yeah, that's the end of my presentation. We can clap now. That'd be cool. Yeah. So now we're going to go on to projects. So we're going to have Berto come up first and present his project. So for those of you that didn't come to our first meeting, our general meetings are always going to have bite-sized talks like you've seen today, intro to Hackathon, MVC, something different every week, just like 10 to 15-minute bite-sized talks. And then outside of these general meetings, we're going to run projects. Anyone can join any projects. Anyone can apply to be a project leader. You don't really need to know anything. We can provide you with resources, developers, whatever you need. But we accepted Berto's application, so he's going to present now. If you're interested in this, you should definitely talk to him after this.
What's up, y'all? Like Krager said, my name is Berto. I'm a junior at Pomona. So this is Activity Timer. This is an idea I had about a year ago. Hit that slide, please. When I was first starting to try to learn some mobile dev stuff, I'm Android through and through, so I decided to learn Android Studio. I'm sorry, Krager. So why did I want to do this? I wanted experience, right? Because I wanted internships. It was the beginning of my internship grind. Why else? Curiosity. I wanted something out of this app that I will explain in a minute. So I started thinking about it. And then the other inspiration was semester evals, and that'll make sense in a minute as well. Please hit that slide. So what did do though? I'll explain the general idea first. It's very basic. It's just an app that will allow you to create like a bunch of timers and put them in a list. And then those will get updated to the cloud somewhere. And you'll be able to start and stop these timers whenever you start and stop doing something for any given amount of time. And then when you're done, it'll spit out some organized data, hopefully visually pretty, about how you spent your time during that time. And so the idea was at the end of a semester, right, normally your professor will give you an evaluation, and they'll be like, yo, how much time you spent in this class through this whole semester every week? I've kind of been curious about hey, how much time did I actually spend? Because I'll just bullshit it, I spent 5 hours a week, I don't know, but I wanted to actually know. So that's kind of the idea for this app. It's connected to Google Firebase, which is their online cloud database server hosting kind of deal. And the most recent version of this app that I'm making is also a way for me to teach myself about Firebase. So currently, this current form, it does do Google authentication, which is super easy through Firebase. And then it does depend on the user to kind of start and stop the timers whenever they want to. And then, like I said at the end, it'll give out some organized pretty data. Hit that next slide, please. So these are some screenshots. You can see there. This is the Google authentication. There's a blank page here, and then here are some timers. Of course, very hello world, very CS. Yeah, it doesn't work yet though, so I would like help with that. If anyone wants to learn about Android Studio, or anyone knows Android Studio, I would love to teach and learn kind of with you guys. Hit that slide, please. My future goals, I want to learn a little. I want to kind of make a whole suite of activity timer applications. It's kind of like a weird idea, it's very small, but it could be cool practice for anybody who wants to have experience creating several apps that work together in a big suite. We can make an online version with HTML or something. I want to teach a little. I want to impart my knowledge of Android Studio upon people. I was at Facebook this summer and they taught me all about Android dev. So I know a fair amount about that now. So I could teach y'all about what I love doing. And I want to live though. I want to have a completed app when I'm done, or perhaps a completed suite of apps. And I want to be able to say, I or we did this, and now we can use it to do some cool shit with our lives. So that's it. Thanks, guys. Do you have any questions? Krager.
Have you considered, because it seems like you have to start and stop the timers automatically.
You do.
Have you considered any alternatives to that problem? Because I think, for me at least, unless I was really in the habit of it, I would start and not stop. How does the app handle that, I guess? Or
You start and then, I guess it doesn't. The edit thing would allow you to probably
okay, so you could
roll that.
no, I didn't spend 12 hours straight.
Yeah. But again, this is very early phases, so that's why I need you guys. Go ahead and hit that slide one more time. So yeah, this is me. If you're interested in joining up on the team, if you have any skills you would like to learn or to impart to the team, hit me up on Facebook or on my email or on Slack. I made a post looking for devs, so check me out there. And then I'll be hosting with James the Android tutorial during HackWeek. So catch me there. Yeah, I'll stick around for a little bit afterwards, so feel free to hit me up then too. Thanks, guys.
So it does remind me, thanks for bringing up Looking for Devs. I added a Slack channel called Looking for Devs, but I couldn't like force everyone to join it. So if you joined the Slack before and you're interested in doing projects or kind of just meeting people with similar skills, I suggest you join this channel. There's like a little plus button on your channels and you can join it. And yeah, you did post, but like 5 people saw it. So yeah, so make sure to join that for sure.
Wait, so
Someone say something?
how do you get there?
I don't know. I know there's like a add button next to the channel thing, and then you can add it as a channel. We'll figure that out later. But next, Sami is going to present her project.
Okay, so I have like quite a few more slides. Should I do it quicker?
No.
Do you want me to like do it, or should
Yeah, you whatever.
wanna?
I don't
Okay.
think there's no present button here.
Oh, that's like awkward. Okay, hey guys, I'm Sami, and I'm here to present you my sustainability app for the campus. For now, it's called Eco Campus, but I'm not super married to the name, so if you guys have better ideas, like I'm all ears. And I guess a little bit about me before we get started. I have a pretty decent background in sustainability. I was fortunate to travel to 3 different countries this summer doing different internships and work under the umbrella of sustainability, and I'm involved in different things on campus as well. And so I figured the next step was to create an app where students could make immediate impacts on a day-to-day basis to encourage sustainability throughout the campus. So there are 3 main functionalities in this app, and the first one is to incentivize students to opt for more sustainable alternatives. For example, if you bring a reusable mug into snack instead of using a one-time use paper or plastic cup, then you could show the worker there and then scan a QR code, and then that would give you points that you would accrue and eventually get rewarded for. And then the second one is to promote education for sustainability throughout the campus. So it would have a page on the app where you could find different resources, such as how to make your door more sustainable or what types of things you can and can't recycle. And then the last one is that I found that there's a huge problem throughout the 5 Cs where there's so many organizations geared towards the same goal of promoting sustainability. However, they don't make the impact that they could because they aren't unified. So I want to make this also have a function as a hub that would connect different people, give you resources, even show you like upcoming events and applications to apply for. Okay, and then so there are 3 core elements, and the first one would be a user profile, which would be linked to your student ID and user login. And then the second one would be the QR scanning and point tracking element, and then the last one would be different pages with the education and the list of organizations and things like that. Okay, so this is an example of a profile. It would definitely be more juicy than this, but and I also think that this app has the potential to be super extensive and nuanced, or just a basic version. And I'm happy with either. We can kind of assess as we go along, see like how much time permits, or how motivated we are, how much we want to develop it. I'd be happy just to go with tier 1 things, but sometimes I just add in extra ideas just to see if the app has potential to go further. So as you can see, there's a QR scanning element. The middle part is supposed to represent how many points you have, and then the right would be your trophies that you have, like your awards. And once you unlock gain a certain amount of points, you unlock more trophies and get different prizes as a result. Kind of like Snapchat, where you kind of like, if you send like 100 Snapchats forever, you know. Okay, so this is the QR scanning and tracking element. I think it'd be really cool. I don't know if we can implement this technology. Like, I'm going to be 100% transparent with you. I am in CS5 Gold, and I don't know too much about tech. So if anyone who does know would like to be a developer for me, that would be super cool. I think it would be cool this would follow a model kind of like OFOs, where you could find, or look on a map and see where you can accumulate points in different areas. And so if you look on the middle one, I don't know if it's super visible, but that's just an example where it says like, recycle your e-waste plus 2 points. And it would have, each one would be labeled and have a certain allotment of points that you could earn. I misnumbered them, sorry. But so this is just an example. You would go to a place and then show them that, oh, I brought my reusable cup, or here are some batteries that I want to recycle the proper way. And then they would present you a QR code, and you could scan that and then earn points if you're eligible. And then, so you receive points, and then this is just a little like mock-up I designed, but it's just an example. And at the bottom, we could just reinforce why that this is a good behavior for you to do, like what impact is making to the environment in general. And then you earn rewards. So once you reach a certain amount of points, then you can, you get rewards. That's it, yeah. And so my vision for these is we could contact different external organizations that really like our cause and are oriented towards sustainability as well, and who want to donate things for free. For example, in my other club, Patagonia donated a bunch of stickers for free just because they're like, hey, we like what you're doing. So we could reach out to different organizations, and also we could reach out to different places on campus. For example, maybe the Motley wants to give discounts to people who reach a certain amount of points. So I think that this project could definitely use a lot of technical developers, but also people who have interpersonal skills and have the ability to engage with other people and, capacity build for this cause and get different sponsors and stuff. So looking for all sorts of skill sets there. And then, so this is an example of the educational pages. I'm not saying it would look like this. This is just what I made really quickly. But just really super digestible, easy to read icons and articles, fun things to read about, this you can recycle and this you can't. We would flesh it out, create content, it'd be a whole thing. This is a crazy idea. I don't know if this tech exists already or if it's possible or whatnot, but it'd even be cool if there was an element where you could just take your phone and scan an item and it would tell you if you could recycle that or not, but that's for the future. Okay, and then the list of organizations. This is where like the whole hub idea comes in, and the connectivity between different organizations, institutes, clubs, whatnot, throughout the 5 Cs. So each one could, the original like tier 1 idea would be just to have the list and have a resource there available with people's contacts, maybe a little brief biography of what they're about. But then if we wanted to develop it further, we could even make them have pages, almost like Facebook, or we could just do links to their website so they could get more updates. And I think that this would be really cool because things like, for example, tomorrow there's going to be a Women in GIS activity, and then there's Envirolab Asia applications. There's all sorts of things that are really, really cool and innovative that are happening on campus, but it's hard for people to stay in touch with it and updated on it, and sometimes they miss deadlines and whatever. So having everything in the same space would be super important and beneficial, I think, to the student body as a whole. And then also the sort by function would be something that we could further develop. It's not super necessary at first, but it'd be cool if you wanted to just look for things immediate to your campus or things that incorporate people from all 5 Cs. And there's just some other like stars of things that we could sort by. But it'd probably be like A to Z at first, because that's like where I'm at. Okay. And then as for developers, as I said before, I'm looking for all kinds of skill sets. Super techie and not super techie, everything is welcome. Even if you don't know how you fit into this, but are interested in this project in general, I will definitely find a position for you to work on it. And then as for a timeline, that's really contingent on how many developers end up on this project and your guys' ability to make time to it. But I'm thinking maybe we could meet on a weekly or bi-weekly basis, just for like an hour or two, have some snacks, it'll be good. And then Python was the language of choice that I was thinking, just because that's the only one that I mildly know. But if you guys have objections, like I'm cool with that too, because I don't know anything about this like front end, back end shenanigans stuff. So yeah, if you guys have questions, then I'll hang around for like a couple minutes after this, and then you can also find me on Slack or email me. And we can change the like icon or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Cool.
guys.
So now we have a representative from ServiceNow who's going to come speak about their company. And yeah. You wanna-
Hi.
Yeah, it takes like 8 seconds.
Okay. All right, hi. So, thanks you guys for letting me come to your meeting. I'm gonna make this really quick, but I just wanted to let you guys know about ServiceNow, which is a company that I work for, and also I'm a senior at CMC. So yeah, we're just gonna go over like the company and like the internship opportunities that we have at ServiceNow. So, this is me. I worked at ServiceNow this summer, and I worked in talent acquisition. This is like my major and what I do at CMC. I'm a senior. So like, what is ServiceNow? So it was founded in 2004. Initial public offering was in 2012. Today they have over 7,000 employees. We're in countries all over the world. And their revenue in 2017 was $2 billion. And we have about 3,000 enterprise customers. And we are at about like 40% of the Forbes Global 2000 as our customers as well. And so ServiceNow's slogan is to make the world of work better for people. So that's what our product does. So this is like a brief overview of the products that ServiceNow has. Started out as IT service management software, but we've expanded into these other areas. And you can see here, I'll give you a couple seconds to like read it, some of the more technical things that it does on the platform. But yeah, lots of different applications for this software. All right, cool. So this year, over the summer while I was working there, we were named Forbes' most innovative company in the world, which was really cool because they are like doing a lot of really great stuff with their software now. And we are a leader in the Gartner Magic Quadrant for IT service management tools. So we've been on the Gartner Quadrant for a couple years in a row now, so we're definitely like a market leader in this area. So our internship opportunities, we do have a lot of different opportunities in different areas of the business. Like I said, I work in talent acquisition. I'm going to tell you guys a little bit more about it. But we do have positions open right now in software, product management, engineering. So if you go on the ServiceNow website and look under careers, you can search for internships and see what positions are open right now. And then we also have some on the business side as well. If you're interested in like IT or finance or sales, even marketing. Lots of options, and our intern program is growing, so as you can see on this timeline at the bottom, we've hired more and more interns each year, and we're in tons of different locations. So I worked in the Bay Area office, but we had most of our interns are in the San Diego office. Internship experience, this is my personal experience. You can see some photos of me having fun. The one in the middle is like a selfie contest that we had with our manager, and my manager was planking, which was really funny because she's kind of like, not like, you wouldn't expect her to plank in a photo. So it was really great. I won in Dundee, for those of you who watch The Office. So I had like a really great experience with my team, and I know that a lot of the other interns did as well. For the intern experience, we have lots of different intern programs throughout the summer. So like, even if you're working in one section of the business, you have the opportunity to like meet all of the other interns in all the other sections of business. So I was really close with a lot of the finance interns. I did a focus group with a lot of interns in like the software and engineering area, so that was really cool for me to like get to meet all these different people. And my team really was like so nice. And so one thing I really learned is that this company like truly cares about giving the interns like a really real world experience of what you'd be doing. So I wasn't like doing random jobs. It was actually like doing things that the team then put into practice, which was really awesome. Are there any questions about ServiceNow? Yeah.
You know, for your Bay Area offices, do you have one in San Francisco or is it just Santa Clara?
Yeah, there is one in San Francisco, but it's small, so like only a few roles are there. The biggest, so our headquarters is in Santa Clara, and then our old headquarters is in San Diego, so that's our second biggest. Yes.
As an intern, what was your day-to-day look like?
So day to day, I usually had like a couple projects I was working on. So I was working in talent acquisition, which is part of HR, and I was helping them. We had just come out with our new like HR product line, and so ServiceNow was doing what they call now on now, which means like implementing their own products into the business. So I was helping the whole team like move over onto that new onboarding software that we had for new people that were like joining the company. So I was making a lot of like troubleshooting guides and like helping the team answer common questions or common issues that they came across. And then also I did a lot of analysis of like candidates that were applying, so looking at like what types of candidates are applying to ServiceNow, where are they coming from, and that kind of stuff. But it's really gonna vary depending on what department you work in, so I can't really speak to like the experiences of the people in the other departments, but I know that they also had like lots of projects going on, things that they were doing that like actually impacted their team as well. Yes?
Yeah. Do you know if your company works with like first-year students or international students? Like, do they have interns that are international students or something?
Yeah. So international students, they definitely do work with international students. I think probably most of the interns are international students. Not actually, maybe not most, but like a lot of them are. And I met a lot of international students. And then with first-year students, I'm not exactly sure on like how each department looks at class year. I know that definitely like you have to have like the baseline skills for the job. But if you send me an email, I can look into specific roles for you about that as well. Are there any other questions? Great. Well, if you have any other questions, you can send me an email. This is my ServiceNow email. And we're going to be having later in the semester a workshop on like applying to these internships. However, I would take a look at some of them now because some of them are open and going through as well. Okay, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so that's all for today. Stick around if you want to talk to anyone about projects or talk to me about starting a project. I'll be here. Yeah, awesome.